Ever since I did What If Naruto Married Sakura, I've gotten a bunch of requests to look at other popular pairings. One request I got was to take a look at how the story would change if Kiba married Hinata instead of Hinata marrying Naruto. In today's bonus edition of Naruto What If, I'm going to take a look at just that scenario. In order for this to happen, we first must establish a trigger point, and I believe the best moment would be in the lead up to the events of Naruto The Last. As we all know, the start of the movie takes place during the Rini Festival, which is a festival that exists in the Naruto universe that, according to the novelization for the movie, originally started out as a time for Konoha citizens to send prayers to their loved ones who were deceased, which would explain why Naruto was wearing the scarf that Kushina left for him. Over the years, it evolved into a holiday where friends exchange gifts and lovers exchange gifts with one another, or in some cases, potential suitors gave gifts to those that they are pursuing. Just as Hinata would spend the time up to the festival getting a gift ready for Naruto, Kiba would take the time to prepare a gift for Hinata as well. During the 2 years since the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War, Kiba would have noticed Hinata continuing to pine away in the shadows after Naruto, with Naruto never acknowledging her feelings for him. The lack of interest in Hinata would slowly eat away at Kiba, making him harbor some resentment towards Naruto for not acknowledging Hinata's feelings. He would recall during the war, a war that they all fought to protect Naruto, Hinata battled through seemingly impossible odds, all to keep Naruto safe, and once Naruto joined the battlefield, Kiba will recall how Hinata didn't hesitate to put herself in harm's way more than once to keep Naruto from harm. Picturing Hinata dying in the place of Neji, Kiba would keep an eye on Hinata from a distance, watching her as she hid in the shadows and watched as Naruto lived his best life. By the events of Naruto The Last, after Hinata leaves the ramen shop, when Naruto misreads the situation, Kiba would swoop in with Akamaru at his side to console Hinata, waving off Sakura as she started to run after Hinata. Walking a very careful line, Kiba would try to do the impossible, which is work his way out of the friend zone, as he comforted Hinata with his words and with his presence. Kiba would work to take her mind off of Naruto, which means that she would never run back to meet Naruto in another attempt to give him the scarf that she made for him. As the two made their way to the park, Toneri will walk out the shadows to confront them. Kiba and Akamaru would immediately launch a fang over fang at Toneri after his puppet grabbed Hinata. Roaring with anger, Kiba would begin battling the swarm of puppets that encircle him, all while screaming for Toneri to return Hinata. As the intense battle raged on, with Kiba never seeming to quite gain the upper hand, Naruto would suddenly burst out the shadows in an orange blur. Being drawn by the commotion, Naruto would begin beating up on the puppets, and as Naruto's clones began to thin out the ranks of the puppets, Kiba, growing infuriated by Naruto saving him, would begin fighting off more of the puppets in a more vicious manner in an effort to prove that he was the true alpha and not Naruto Uzumaki. The two would then begin chasing the puppet that carried Hinata through the village, all while fighting off the remaining puppets. Puppets would be sent flying throughout the various buildings, some crashing into the streets of Konoha, and others into the various food stands that were set out for the festival. With every step Naruto took towards Hinata, Kiba would make it a point to take 3 additional steps to get in front of Naruto, dodging the chakra blast of the puppets. Kiba would shout out for Hinata as he and Naruto continued to avoid more dangerous, life-threatening attacks, while Naruto jumped across the rooftop, hurling a Rasen shuriken at the collection of puppets. After successfully landing an attack on the puppet carrying Hinata, Kiba would rush to catch Hinata as she fell. With Naruto providing backup, fighting off the puppets in the distance, Kiba would notice that something was wrong with Hinata. Seeing her use the scarf that she made for Naruto in an attempt to climb up the wall would be something that stands out, making him wonder why Hinata wasn't using her chakra. As the scarf tore apart, flinging Hinata from the building's wall, Kiba would swoop in to catch her at the last minute, but in the process of doing so, the scarf would be thrown into the wind. After getting Hinata to safety and meeting back up with Naruto, Toneri would appear before the trio briefly before he vanished. This is where the first major change would occur. The Hanabi rescue team will look a lot different than the one that we originally got. By the events of Naruto The Last, only Sakura and Shikamaru were promoted to Jonin. Sai was still a Chunin and Naruto was still listed as a Ganin by this time in the timeline, according to the promotional material and the official novel and the official databook for the movie, so I'm going to be going with that continuity and not the filler that was added to Naruto Shippuden. Kakashi would come to the realization that Kiba being onto the team added additional benefits. He and Akamaru two could familiarize themselves with Hanabi's scent, which would be key to finding Hanabi, and Kiba had already fought off the puppets and encountered Toneri, which means that he has valuable information about the enemy, in particular when it comes to the scent. Instead of making Shikamaru the Jonin leader of the squad, instead he would entrust the duty to Sakura, and Shikamaru would not be on this team since there would not be a need to have two Jonin on the same team. Kiba will replace Shikamaru on the Hanabi rescue team. As they search for Hanabi, Kiba would vow to Hinata that they would rescue Hanabi, and that as the man who will become the next Hokage, he would keep his promise to her. From here, the story will progress much in the same, with the only major change coming when the team reaches the lake where Toneri's Genjutsu trap was waiting for them. Instead of Hinata being beside Naruto, with both of them lost in their own memories and eventually having those memories bleed together, Hinata will be beside Kiba. The necklace that Kiba bought and had made for Hinata, with the dog pendant on it, would connect the two. Hinata would see just how much Kiba was touched by her gesture when she gave him the ointment during the Chunin exams after he lost his battle with Naruto. She would notice how she was always comfortable around Kiba and never nervous like she was when she was in the presence of Naruto. She would see the concern for her on Kiba's face at various points during the Chunin exams. She would see Kiba's strong sense of worrying when her health began to fail during the finals of the Chunin exams, in particular during the fight with Naruto and Neji. New memories would surface, like Kiba's reaction to learning that Hinata almost died, like when she tried to rescue Naruto from pain. She would watch the lines of Kiba's face twist together in agony as he watched Hinata from a distance, unbeknownst to her, as she spied on Naruto. She would see his irritation at how much he hated seeing Naruto ignore Hinata and chase after Sakura, who spent all of her time chasing after Sasuke. She would hear Kiba say that she deserved better and feel Kiba's pain, thinking of how she could have died if Neji hadn't sacrificed himself for her, and that if it would have came to it, that Kiba would have given his life for Hinata. Hinata would feel Kiba's heart ache at the sight of the scarf that she made for Naruto, and see just how desperately Kiba fought to rescue her from Toneri's puppets, roaring for Toneri to return her, screaming at the top of his lungs. Just before she was snapped out of the Genjutsu, she would hear Kiba confess his love for her, which would confuse Hinata as she realized that all while she pined after Naruto, from the shadows, there was someone right in front of her with strong feelings of love for her as well. Hinata would avoid eye contact with Kiba as he rushed to be one of the first ones to check on her, which, with the newfound information that Hinata had, it wouldn't go unnoticed. Her heart would pang upon hearing Naruto's first words upon being snapped out of the Genjutsu, and hearing that Naruto's first words were Sakura-chan, just as they were in the movie, and she would realize that in all the years that she crushed after Naruto, that never once did he use that term of endearment towards her, saving it only for Sakura. Kiba and Hinata would hesitate to follow Sakura, Sai, and Naruto. Instead, Kiba would ask to speak with Hinata alone, holding the necklace in his hands, which Hinata would notice. At the last minute, Kiba would change his mind, instead thinking it was better to save his confession for until after he rescued Hanabi. He'd tell Hinata that it's time to save her sister, and then he would command Akamaru to follow him. From here, the story would progress much in the same, with the only exception being that Kiba would be the one partnering with Hinata as they search through the ruins, and the two of them would share a few awkward scenes, much in the same way that Naruto and Hinata did originally. By the time that Toneri finally takes Hinata, instead of Naruto rushing after Toneri, it would be Kiba who would be checking in on Hinata. Given the massive power gap between Kiba and base Naruto, the attack that hit Naruto during the scene would do far more damage if it hit Kiba. According to the novelization for the movie, Naruto's chakra was drained almost to zero, and it took Sakura nearly 3 days to completely heal Naruto and restore all of Naruto's chakra. The attack would have Kiba fighting for his life, all while he clutched the necklace that he had made for Hinata. While it wouldn't take 3 days to replenish Kiba's chakra, due to the fact that he has far less chakra than Naruto, Kiba would still require the additional time and rest in order to recover. By the time the team storms Toneri's palace, Kiba would follow Hinata's scent and interrupt the marriage ceremony of Toneri and Hinata. With Sakura there to aid him, the two would begin battling off the puppets. Kiba's heart would shatter and fill with rage as he was forced to fight with Hinata, who would still be controlled by Toneri. Drawing on the thought of Hinata marrying Toneri, yet another man who Kiba felt didn't deserve her, Kiba would defensively hold off Hinata, all while glaring at Toneri. Growing bored with Kiba's poor attempts to threaten him and his refusal to fight seriously, Tsuneri was seeing both Kiba and Akamaru flying into the wall with this attack. The sheer force of the attack would leave Kiba nearly unconscious, since in the movie the attack was strong enough to pressure and pin base Naruto against the wall. It would be here that Sakura would arrive, but in that moment Tsuneri's eyes would begin to feel excruciating pain, which would give Sakura the chance to grab Kiba and Hinata and flee the area. As the two teams regrouped, Naruto would notice the change in Hinata's chakra and remove the chakra orb out of Hinata's body. After the Raikage's chakra cannon destroyed the meteor cluster, Kakashi was still going to demand an emergency 5 Kage summit to buy Sakura's team more time. Upon regaining consciousness, Hinata would quickly tell the teams of the Tensegan energy vessel that Tsuneri was planning to use to wipe out all life on Earth. With extreme urgency, Naruto would leave the group using his KCM mode, zipping past the team of puppets directly to the energy vessel. Hinata would warn everyone to stay back as she attempted to destroy the Tensegan vessel. Seeing that she lacked the power to do so, Kiba would offer to help, which would again lead to failure, which would prompt Naruto to assist both of them in destroying the vessel. From here, the battle with Naruto and Tsuneri would end in the exact same manner, with some few changes, but ultimately Tsuneri would be defeated. But during the battle, Kiba would desperately try and fail to rescue Hinata from Tsuneri's floating cage. Witnessing the enormous power of Naruto as he fought against Tsuneri would make both Kiba feel helpless and make him double down on his concern with Hinata, knowing that all he could do was trust in Naruto. Throughout the fight, Kiba would grab onto Hinata's hand, letting her know that he would never abandon her and that they would find a way to get her out of the cage. Once the fight concluded, Kiba would still be holding Hinata's hands as they descended down to the surface of the moon and would be at her side as she ripped out the eyes of Hinabi out of Tsuneri's skull. Instead of Naruto traveling back to Earth with Hinata, instead it would be Kiba who would confess his love to Hinata, giving her the gift that he had made for her. Conflict was swelling Hinata's breast as her heart was being torn in two between her old crush on Naruto and feeling the overwhelming oozing affection that Kiba had for her, recognizing that the feelings were even stronger than the ones that she felt towards Naruto, or at least the ones that she thought that she felt, because after all, her love for Naruto was nothing but a crush. While Naruto ran off beside Sakura and Sai, Hinata would realize that Kiba had never left her side and waited for her without even realizing it. She recalled how much Kiba put on the line for her, almost dying twice during his mission to protect her, and her conflict would move towards realizing that in the end, she always knew that it was Kiba, but she needed the events of this mission and the vision she shared with him during the Genjutsu trap to realize that it was Kiba that she loved all along. The two of them would share a very passionate kiss as they floated in the air before descending towards the earth. In the time that follows afterwards, Kiba would go on to marry Hinata. And this is where I'm going to leave it off to you guys. If we can hit 2,000 likes on this one, I'll make a part 2 that explores the children of Kiba and Hinata, as well as the conclusion of Team 7's love triangle between Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke, as well as who the wife of the odd man out would end up being. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.